Hey everyone!
Hey, and welcome to After Hours here at Linda's Electric Quilters.
We are excited tonight to show you some feathers.
Yes, we're going to be taking a look at Linda Taylor's Fancy Feathers book. Now, this is a digital download. We have
Correct.
downloaded it and printed it off here for us to use for shooting.
Mm-hmm.
But you can get it on our website, digital download, available to you instantly once you purchase it.
Yes.
So you can follow along, or you can look at some more of the fancy feathers that we might not get to tonight.
Exactly. And I love that we have the ability to have digital downloads, right? So that way it doesn't matter where you live, you have the opportunity to just do a quick download.
You don't have to wait on it.
You don't have to wait on
That's
it.
the
And you
best
don't have
part.
to pay shipping.
Oh, even better.
Right. We have multiple digital downloads on there. So definitely this is going to be a fun one tonight. This is one of our original feather books.
One of the OGs.
Yeah, one of the OGs.
One of
There
the
you
OGs.
go. So I think we should get over there and start showing. Well, let me back up. That's my backup voice. Actually, we're going to draw them first for you.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at the basis of drawing a feather from either a beginner standpoint or an advanced standpoint. Sometimes finding those extra tidbits that others use to build their feathers will help you build yours.
That's right.
So we're going to start on a basics of drawing them, and then I'm going to take you over to the long arm, and then we're going to look at quilting out some of these fancy feathers.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so if we go overhead, we're going to take a look at the basis of how I draw my feathers. So we're going to start off with giving you those kind of step-by-steps from the very beginning, and then we'll move on to a little bit more of an advanced one. So when you're starting off learning how to draw feathers, I would definitely recommend having some paper and a pen around, or paper and pencil even around, to build that muscle memory, because it'll help translate it over to your long arm or to your sit-down machine a whole lot easier. So you want to start off with a stem when you're doing feathers. So I'm just using open paper here. I don't have any boundaries or anything like that I'm following. I'm just going at it, which is the best way to learn how to draw. So we're just going to start with a straight line stem. So we're going to do a straight line stem, and mine's a little diagonal because I draw at a diagonal. And at the end of your stem here that we drew, so we drew from right to left here, at the end of the stem, I want you to do a figure 8 here at the end of your stem. So we're going to take this, do a nice elongated figure 8 there. And if you think of feathers, they are basically half hearts, okay? They just go a little further down in the center than a heart does. Heart kind of stops midway. This one goes down further. So what this figure 8 is going to do, it's going to help you build that shape off of it. And on this side, we're going to look at a stacked feather, and on this side, we'll look at what I call a floating feather. So what you're going to do is, we've drawn that figure 8. We're back here at this point right here. Now what I want to do is I want to build off of the top of this figure 8 and then come down into the stem. You want to go follow down the stem. So starting here, we're going to follow that shape and then come down into the stem there. If you want to kind of curve it down as opposed to going perpendicular with it and kind of hitting it, that helps build that plume shape that we're looking for. So from there, you're going to build on top of that one, and then down, and then build on top of that one and down. You just keep working that movement all the way down. That's going to give you that nice feather shape as you're working. Again, this is a stacked feather. There's a ton of other terms for it. But just that stacked one that's going to sit right on top of the other, a little bit of overstitching as it follows, and you're going down. Now this is kind of your easier starting out feather. We'll look at more advanced ones as the weeks go by. This is just kind of, like I said, that beginner one that we're following over, coming down that stem. Remember to go down the stem to keep up with that plume shape. So we're going to travel all the way up this line. I'll go a little bit faster. All the way up this line. And once we get to the end of this line, you can either travel back down your stem, or if you don't want to have extra overstitching in the center, you can echo the outside of your feathers, which I'm sure you've seen on some of our videos. So we can travel around this and just kind of echo around this feather, just like this on the way back. Gives it a little bit more dimension. We like having that. The eye has something to follow as it's going around, just like that. So as we get through here, you can go around your figure 8 and back through the center, or you can just cut right through here. I'm going to go around the figure 8 and back right through the center so we can work on this side. So that was your stacked one with an echo. This one's going to be your floating one. So the floating one basically is, we don't have to worry about overstitching right on top of another feather. So we're going to come down this, still keeping that same shape, But instead of following directly right on top of that last feather that we drew, come up a little bit and just go around. You're kind of just bouncing, you're not staying directly on that line, so you're not having to worry about overstitching. Just like that, and it gives you a completely different look just by not doing any of that overstitching. And keep going here and there. When I finish off a feather at the top, depending on what kind of quilt it's going on, sometimes I'll put a little heart here. So from there I can do my heart and then come back with an echo. Just like that. Echo, echo, echo. Building that muscle memory of how we're going to get this done. And then finish it off right underneath there. Now, that figure 8 is basically what you're using when you're drawing. I would chalk out a figure 8. When we get to the long arm, we'll take a look at that. I would chalk out the figure 8, but I would not stitch it because sometimes it's going to throw off the actual look of your feather. But that's going to give you your actual starting motion. And once you start that one, you can build on it all the way throughout as, as far as you want to go. If you're doing a border, a sashing, however you want to do it, you can do that. So let's look at something that's in more of a boundary, let's say a sashing. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. And it promised me it's probably not going to be straight, but we can make it work. Oh, not terrible. Okay. Now you want to start, now this is another thing. You want to look at starting your stem where the end of that feather is actually going to end up. So what I mean by that is if we're drawing the feather this direction, okay, the end of it is going to end over here on the right hand side. So we want to start our stem and travel over to the left to then begin our feather. That makes it a little easier, and then you have a path to follow. You don't just want to start feathering because then you have no path to follow from there. So I would start my stem, so SS, start stem, right here. And this one's going to be a curvy stem. We're going to look at doing a curvy one. So I'm going to come in just with a nice curve, a couple of arcs. Just like that. And so that would be my sashing. So I've drawn the stem from right to left. And out here I would take my chalk pencil or chalk marker. We have a couple of different chalking things. And I would chalk out that figure 8 so I have something to follow. I would chalk that out right there. Now what I can do is start building my feather. So this one will be more of a stacked feather design. So starting in that same position, we're going to build off of our figure 8. And I'm going to travel up close towards the top of my sashing and kind of get right up into that section. So we're going to go. Now this one has dips, so kind of peaks and valleys on this curve, and I want to show you how you can handle those peaks and valleys. So we're going to travel, keep stitching up, going all the way to our sashing, and now we're starting to go down into the valley of this line. So instead of trying to stretch your feather up and trying to hit that top from this deep valley here, put in maybe half a feather like that, and then build another one that curves a little bit more around it, like that. Maybe one more, about the same, like that. And now since we're building and coming out of that valley, I want to come around those that I missed and throw in a nice elongated one right there. Okay, that little bit of piece that's left over there, the little bit of excess negative space that you have there, is not that big of a deal. It's going to give it a little bit of texture, a little bit of dimension. If you wanted to, you could have taken the one right before this and stretched it further and filled in that space. It's completely personal preference. But being able to do those short ones right here while you're in the valley will help you with not having to overstretch the feather. So then you're just going to keep drawing it out. Now that you're coming out of that, you're coming up onto the peak of the stem. You can just keep drawing that out. Now we're going to head back down into the valley. So once you get to, I probably got one more in me before it's going to get to be a little bit too long of a feather. So now we're going down into the valley. So I'm going to start doing shorter feathers. Almost there, right about there. Now that we're at the end, kind of, not at the end, excuse me, at the very bottom of the valley, we can start going around those that we've made, those really small ones that we made. Maybe add a shorter one there, go around that one even, maybe a shorter one. This is just giving a lot of dimension to what we're working with here. And now we can stack right back up to the top since we're coming out onto the peak. So we're going to finish this one off. And then I've got a couple short ones here in me. Now for this one, I'm going to follow back down the stem because I can't really echo the outside of it. So we're just going to come around the stem here. Like that. And now for the bottom side, doing the same thing. So we're following this. And this one's starting in a valley. So we're just going to do shorter ones and build from that. And you're just going to continue working around this, kind of building that memory, building that muscle memory. We're going down into a valley now on this one. So I can kind of do smaller. I'm going a little bit faster with my drawing so they're not particularly right on top of each other, just so you can get a better idea faster. But you're just continuously going around this, following down. You can do larger feathers as well. These got really small. You can do much bigger plumes if you want to. It's all personal preference. But it's just getting down that muscle memory so you can build exactly how you want. Just like that. So that kind of gives you the starting portion of a straight line feather or more of a curvy feather that's kind of trapped within a sashing. So if we open up our fancy feather book, we can go and look and see all the different ones that we have. You also have kind of more of those hint instructions of starting with a basic feather. We are going to take a look at page, we're going to start with, let's go, I thought about it and then I was like, let's switch it up. Let's actually start with a ribbon feather on page 14. So that's what we're going to do first. So we're going to head over to the long arm. We're going to draw out our ribbon feather sashing stem, excuse me, and then we're going to build right on top of that. So let's head over there and take a look. Okay, so here we are, and I've just got some blank fabric on, just like we were doing with drawing out on the blank paper. It's good just to load on some blank fabric and kind of just build that muscle memory of how you want to draw these out, so you're not kind of stressed about doing it on a quilt or anything like that. Just throw on some fabric and get going. We're going to be using this brand new Ultimate marking pencil. I guess new to us, right?
Yeah.
New to us, not brand new, but it's called Ultimate Marking Pencil. And it comes from the same people that we get the pounce powder from, same people that build that pounce powder. And so this pencil, all you have to do is you can draw it on and then it's going to wash off, or it even irons off. We're going to take a look at that today as well.
Yeah, what's cool about it is basically it's just the pounce powder really compressed. So if you use pounce powder before, it's just the same theory.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So what we're going to do is I just want to start off with the stem just like we did on paper. So we're just going to start off with the stem here. And then I can draw out my feather. Remember, you can start off with that figure 8. So we can kind of chalk that out. Oh, I love this pencil. All right. And then we can just build that feather. Just like
nice.
that.
Goes on really good.
Remember to go down the stem as we're doing this. And this one will be that echoed one that we started off with when we began. So we're going to come back and echo it. Do this a little quicker. And then we're going to do this side. So always good to kind of mark it out on your fabric before you get going with the quilting. Makes it a little bit easier, kind of have a guide to follow. Remember, you don't have to stay directly on that guide, but it gives you something to kind of follow on. Just like that. So we're going to set our pencil off to the side. I'm going to come over. Remember, we started with a stem, so we're going to start here at the base of this heart that we drew. Pull up my thread. And do a couple of tie-off stitches. And let's make sure, I think we're going to do, let's do 12 stitches per inch today. Looks good. And we can get going. So we're going to start it up, travel down that stem. Now we're not going to stitch out that figure 8, that's just there as our guide to follow. We'll start with our first feather. Down the stem. Down. Remember, I'm just using that chalking as a guide, not following directly on it. And get a nice flow. You don't have to go fast when you're doing this. Take it as slow as you want. And build on that echo. And do this side.
It's so funny when I do feathers, I do really good on one side, and the other side I don't do so good.
It definitely depends on which one you're doing.
But the drawing would definitely help.
Yeah. So I'm going to stop right here real quick. I'm going to trim this thread because it's in my way. Set that off to the side. And when we end off on this one, like we remember we kind of ended off with a little heart there. So I've got one more little feather plume to do. I'm going to go into this heart. And then end with an echo. And pull my thread so you can see it. Just like that. Boom.
Cool.
So you've got that one. That had a little bit of a curve. You can do even a deeper arc, like we looked at the peaks and valleys when we were drawing, and this one will be a little tighter. So we can do more of a peak and a valley on this one. This is a big old peak and valley here. So let's stitch this one. Oh, let's also give you a boundary, like we looked at, a sashing even. Let's draw on a little bit of sashing here. This one's going to be tight. Woo! Didn't think that one all the way through, but that's okay. It shows that it can be done. If you're doing something like this really, really tight and small in a small space, you might want to increase your stitches per inch if you have a stitch regulator. Right now we're on 12. I might go up to 14 while I'm doing this one. So let me change my stitches per inch real quick to 14. Just makes it a little bit easier when you're working in a tighter space. So now let's do our stem. Like that. And then we're going to start with our feathers all the way up to this side of that sashing until we get down into the valley. We're going to do those tiny ones and then build out of the valley. We're up to the peak now. Coming down into that valley. So build those little tiny ones and then work around it and build up from there. Now, just like we did on paper, we don't have a way to echo this on the way back, so we're going to travel back down our stem. And then we're going to do the other side. Now, this is a deep valley on this one, so kind of do those small ones to fill in the space, and then as you make your way out, make them larger to get to the edge of your sashing. Pause right here real quick to cut my threads so it's out of the way. Thank you. And then small. On the way out, you can begin to make them larger again. Just like that.
Turned out really good.
Thank you. So, that was the basis of what we looked at when we were drawing. Now let's look at some of the other fancy feathers that you can do now that you have those basic techniques down. Let's look on page 9. First, I know we talked about going to a different page, but I thought about it as I was walking over here. We're going to look at this teardrop feather first. So, on this one, you're going to be drawing out that stem first. Once again, we'll do it right here. So we're going to draw out our stem. And then we're going to travel up. So you're going to start with a tiny little teardrop feather, so start small and then build a larger one on top of it. So then you'll start small, build a larger one on top of it. Start small, larger one on top of it. Move my machine out of the way. Start small, larger one on top of it. Start small and larger one on top of it. Okay? So that's an easy way to build a teardrop feather. You can go and echo that as well and have multiple teardrop looks. But having that small little piece first and then building on top of it will give you that look. So we'll start right here. Pull out my thread. A couple of tie-offs there. We'll come down the stem. And then we're going to start small and build on top of that. Start small. Build on top, small, build on top. So you're kind of building that teardrop wherever you started, and then you're going to kind of follow right back over that. Just making it a little bit larger. Small, large. We'll echo this one on the way back to make it easier. And then here again, start small. I kind of went backwards on that one. See, when you do that other side sometimes, like you were saying. Start small and build on top of it. That's going to be a big one. Small, build on top. Trim my threads again. See, I always wait till the last second to trim my threads. I don't know why. Set them off to the side. And then we'll do a double heart. Just like that.
Cool.
Super cute.
Yeah, you can put anything on top of that, a swirl, a heart, or nothing.
Yeah, you can do, or nothing. Yeah, you can end it however you want. That's all personal preference. That's the best part. So, I'm going to bounce out of this. We're going to go to a ribbon feather next. This is one of my favorites to do. Go back to 12 stitches per inch since we're getting a little larger again. So a ribbon feather we're going to find on page 14. And what we're going to start off with is drawing a ribbon stem. Now there are some easy ways to build a ribbon really quickly. So we're going to take our marking pencil, set our book off to the side, and I'm going to come over here. And with a ribbon you have peaks and valleys, just like kind of that curve, that second feather that we looked at. So I'm going to draw a peak and a valley here, just like that. And you want to find where these arcs have intersections, and what I mean by, or not really intersections, but where they stop and start. So I'm following the top of this arc, and this is about the halfway point till I get to the bottom of this other arc. So go ahead and mark that halfway point, because that's the cross for your ribbon. That's where it's going to cross over onto the other side. So now that we've drawn the initial part of our stem, when you're drawing the ribbon part, you want to stay on the outer portion of wherever you're going to be. So on this peak, we're going to be on the outer portion of the peak. We're going to cross through that center point that we marked and then be on the outer portion of the valley right here. So we're going to start here again, go on the outer portion of your peak, cross through the center that you marked, and then do the outer portion of your valley. That'll give you that nice twisted ribbon feel. You can also add an additional kind of echo on top of it if you'd like. So again, outer portion, cross through, outer portion, just like that. So you have that top portion that's going to be your ribbon per se, and then on this open side here on both of these, this is where we're going to be drawing our feathers. We'll cross through the center to do the feather. So we can do the feather here, here. Now remember, we're getting down into that valley, for instance, so you can kind of gain it up. One last one, and then cross through, and then so you're going to flip the feather to do it the other way. Just like that. One last one right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and stitch out how we're going to do this. So we're going to be doing our ribbon part first, so we have something to follow when we do our feathers. So I'm going to do my ribbon part, and this is going to kind of be a back and forth action. Just like so. So do some tie-offs. And then we will start the ribbon. And I'm going to go ahead and go backwards now. Cross through the center. Cross through the center. And then this one, since we're over here, just to make it faster, we'll do our feathers backwards. You could also stop that stitching of the ribbon, tie off, and then come back and pick it up. Whatever's easier for you if you want to go the other way. Just like that. So you've got that simple one right there. And then last but not least, we are going to take a look at a twisted feather. This is a fun one. So this is on page 15. So a twisted feather is kind of creating a different sashing. If you're trying to follow this on a border, maybe it would work out really well for you. We're going to do it this way for space, so you can turn it whatever direction you're going to go. And what this one is going to entail is basically we're going to start, let's say right here will be our starting point. And then we're going to curve up, and then down, and then up, and then come back. So you're making basically big circle, pearl, chain, any other word you want to call it.
Big figure eight.
Big
snowman.
A snowman. There you go. It's a snowman. That's the one. So we're going to do that first, and then when we come back, we're going to start our feathers. So our feathers would be going this direction, and we're going to follow that all the way up to here. Once we get to our intersection point, you're going to flip your feather and do this section here. Then flip it this way, and so on and so on. And we'll talk through it as we go. It'd be too long for me to draw it out. So I'm going to set my book off to the side, set my marking pencil off to the side.
I like that marking pencil.
I do too.
It's really...
We still haven't even shown them how to take it off yet. I've been so excited drawing.
Oh yeah.
We'll do one final finish to take it off then. There we go.
Okay.
So a couple of tie-offs here on this one. And then we can start. And we're going to start off with our snowman. I like that snowman. Thank you. I needed something to call it. So come back. And if you wanted those circles to be perfect, you could use circle templates and mark that out. This is just a fast beginner way of doing it. But you could use those circle templates, mark it out, and follow those as well. So we've done the snowman portion. Now we're going to start with our feathers. We're going to follow these all the way around. Remember, when you get to your intersection point, which is probably one more here, you're going to flip and go this direction on the inner portion of the middle of the snowman. Let me add a little tiny baby one in here to get a bigger one there. There we go. Flip. We go here. So once you get to the middle portion up here, go ahead and pause your machine. And when you get to the middle portion up here, you're going to flip the direction of your feathers because they're going to end up going the other direction now to fill this in. And this is what's going to keep it continuous. So what I mean by that is come down a little bit and then build your feather back this way. Cross over there in the center, come down a little bit, and build your feather. And this definitely takes some drawing out, some muscle memory, but it's so much fun and so fast. Come down a little bit, and go this way. So we've got the inner portion of our snowman done. Now I'm going to keep saying snowman, thanks Mom. Now we're going to do the outer portion. So build your feathers on the outer portion. When you get to your intersection, just cross right through and begin to build your feathers once more. Once you get here, cross through and build. When you make it to the top, you can give it just a little hump. You can give it a curly cue if you want. And then you're going to basically, again, reverse the direction of those feathers. Cross through. And make it back. Cross through. And take it back. I'm going to pause right here real quick, trim my threads at the bottom. Continue. When you get down there to the bottom, you can add a little swirl. You can come off and do a swirl if you want. However you want to accent your fancy feather.
So that's one way you could do it. On another way, on the outer, could you do just all the outer consistent?
The outer this way?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could totally do it if you didn't want to cross through the intersections anymore. If you just want to do the consistent of the outer and then come doing this whole side too, you could do that as well. Totally. It's all personal preference. There's so many different ways you can do it. Like I said, all personal preference once again.
Fun. All right, let's show them how easy it is to iron this stuff off.
So I'm going to grab my little mini iron. Let's turn it on a little bit because I haven't had it on the whole time. Set it over here real quick so I can get around the camera. And you can do this while it's on the frame or when you take it off, completely up to you. This pencil also washes out too, so you don't have to iron directly on it if you don't want to. Get my cord and my little cable, there we go. And then once it gets hot enough, don't touch the iron. Just saying. All right, then we just begin to iron directly right on top of it. Light pressure. You don't need to push it heavy by any means. That was lint. I was like, golly, I marked that heavy. That was lint. And you just begin to iron right on top and it disappears.
Oh, wow.
Right in front of your very eyes.
Oh, that is a lot easier. I mean, I love our chalk pencils, but this is kind of, I love this.
Oh yeah, it's a lot easier than having
to take it off?
Erase it out. This one just irons right away, or it'll wash right away in the wash.
Yeah.
And now it's gone, and you're ready to go on to your next section.
Awesome.
Just like that. So, that was our beginning portion of Fancy Feathers, and I think we can head back to set to say goodbye.
Okay, sounds good.
So, what'd you think?
I love that. I love how you showed them how to do it on, like, paper first, tracing it, practicing it, practice
it's all about
first.
practice. Having one of these little booklet
Sketch
things,
pads,
little sketch pads, will help you a lot, or maybe even like a composition book or something. Whenever you're sitting there watching TV or just lounging around, just start drawing. Get the feel of it. Then when you go over to your machine, it's going to make it so much easier because you have some type of an idea of what you're going to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
So I love how you showed that, and then using the book, which we have available in the download now, is awesome. But I really did like this Ultimate Marking Pencil too, and I loved how it ironed off. So we have the download on our website. We have the pencil on our website. We actually also pair it with a sharpener. So because you do sharpen it as you go, so you have the right size. So it's paired with that.
Yeah, it has a little case that it can sit in. It doesn't dry out, so if you lose the case, it's okay.
Yeah.
But it has this little case that it comes in that it can sit in, and then you're all set for the next time you want to use it.
Yeah, super fun.
Just like that.
You did a great job. Great start to the book for sure.
Thank you, because there's a whole series where this comes from. Because this is just the beginning of this book, and then there's 4 others.
3 others, I think.
3 others, 4 others.
Yeah.
I don't know. We should probably have known that. But I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode on After Hours, kind of looking at the Fancy Feathers. We'll see you tomorrow morning for Good Morning LEQ. Bye.